Any other discussion? This is a discussion and possible decision.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it till next meeting. Put it up again, think about it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to table. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. So, motion passes 6-3. The ayes were, was it 4?
Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote.
Gorman? Yes. Kaiser?
No.
Kramer? Yes. Theo?
Yes, to table, right? Making sure.
Tomcheck?
No.
Zebro? No. Alice?
No.
Barnes?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-4. We will table, and we will move on. Item 9D, discussion and possible decision, I guess in regard to that, for agenda planning next time, if we're tabling it to the next meeting and we want to revisit it, I want to understand from those yes, what they might be looking for in Bob Butler's scope of his work, okay?
Yeah, right.
Because that'll help us make a yes or no decision.
Yes.
Okay. Item 9D, discussion and possible decision, developing a committee to discuss changing this school district mascot.
What is a mascot?
That's a good question. That's what the students ask us,
I
Diane.
still see
That is a hot,
the Indian on
Really
on
old
items.
stuff.
yeah, that's,
So members of our high school student senate have requested our high school administration and our AD the opportunity to have a discussion on changing the Mosinee School District mascot. The students specifically are looking for the administration and the board to develop a process for that conversation to occur. This agenda item is being brought to the board just to determine if there's support for a committee to be developed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but right before I got on the board, wasn't there, we could call ourselves the Indian, but you couldn't display it?
Correct. Correct.
Or we could always reverse that, or not?
No, I think that the clarity of that is there. That's exactly when the board made that decision, so.
I'll tell you, if you want to pack a room, nothing will pack a room than this.
That doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
Positively and negatively.
Negatively. You will get media, you will get the people who want us to completely get rid of the Indian name. It was, even between the board at that time, it was a very hot topic. And I said at that time, I never want to sit on another board when this comes up without the state or the federal government coming in and telling us we have to take the name away. Because it was that heated.
It was the whole thing.
It was bad.
Well, this is a student-led, I think what's happening is the students don't have, it's not a mascot, it's, you know,
They want a
What's-
mascot.
well, we're just Mosinee.
We're the
And I
M's.
think if the students lead it, maybe it has some traction within the community, that, okay, there's a lot of community members that don't like it, but based on what we're restricted to do with it today, it's like having nothing. So at some point, we just need to move forward.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
I've been approached by students, as a matter of fact, Carly and some of her Senate members, while I was carrying bags of popcorn into the soon-to-be renovated concession stand. And they addressed it with me. They said, you know something? What are we? We're the M's. And not only are we the M's, what is our M? Because each individual entity within the school district has a different M. And here's my take on it. I travel to other areas that we go to compete against them in sports. And I don't believe being the Mosinee Indians is intended to be disrespectful or offensive. But it doesn't change the fact that in those communities that have a large Native American population, it is absolutely interpreted as offensive to them. And I don't think that's who we are as a community. That's my take on it. Number two, our kids want to be something other than the M's. My kids address this, Carly addressed this with me, and we cannot dress any of our white kids up as Native Americans and have them run up and down the track, because then we will be on CNN. So the time has come where it's not community members saying this, these are our students saying, we want to be proud of whatever we're going to be able to represent us in our community. And I think waiting to have the federal or state government, I don't ever want them to tell me what to do. So I have no interest in waiting for them to force it. I think people elect us to be leaders, and we do the right thing, and we hear what these students have to say and let them come up with a proposal. Because I personally think it's the right thing to do.
Well,
And for the record, state and federal government tell us what to do daily.
yes. I'm just telling you, I was there at the last meeting, and I was on your side of the table, but I don't wanna spend that kind of time, because the amount of people that showed up in that room. And I'll tell you what, we were talking about a referendum at that time, which we should have put that before this agenda item, because the minute that was discussed, they all left and cleared the room. The whole Kresge Center was packed.
At that point, Diane, were we still
We had
referencing
the
ourselves as the
addresses and all
Mosinee
that.
Indian?
Oh, yeah,
We still had the Indian on the center court of the back. Now we have none of that. So
Right.
it's
Yeah,
really
it's
changed.
changed.
So if the community group wants to show up again, I think we need to talk to them so they understand, the students that we're educating, what it means to them to have some sort of mascot they can recognize. So I'm not afraid to bring it up again myself. In fact, anytime a room is filled, that's encouraging.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna get it on both sides too, just so you
Well,
know.
that's okay.
Right.
So this is discussion and possible decision, developing a committee to discuss changing the school district mascot.
One additional thing, Mr. President, is that Carly mentioned to me with her fellow students is that they're looking to know whether if this is not on the table for this board, they really don't want to put all the work and pull the students and get students having conversations about this, to have it be a non-starter prior to them even beginning the work to accomplish that. So I think what they're looking for from us is a willingness to be open on that topic, because if this board isn't, then we shouldn't ask them to do the work.
I would so move to develop a committee to discuss the change of the school district mascot.
We have a motion, do we want to add any, what does that committee look like, composition?
Who facilitated
So you have a second, call for a second. There's no second, the discussion continues.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Further discussion.
what would be the makeup, who would facilitate? I'm still listening, I guess I'd like to know a little bit more on the scope here. And how this, structure would be important, I think.
I'd like your input on that. So when we sat down and we talked about it, when the high school administration was approached and we sat down and we kind of framed everything out, who would need to be on the committee, who would need to be involved, what type of input would we seek, and we started to, we spent hours sitting down, taking a look at this. And did not want to go through the whole process without the support of the board to do so, and then to get your input on, what do you think? Should it be an outside facilitator? Should it be us? Should it be me? Should it be Mr. Lehman? Should it be Mr. Zebro? Who should facilitate that, or should we have an outside facilitator? So we talked about that. Really wanted your input.
Who leads this, who's the student advisor to the student center?
It's Stacy Nelson. And staff.
I'll speak now. I'm disappointed that the students didn't come through and go do this. The student body would come to us with the plan, they put it, then they might garner our support. But I'll tell you, I sit here and I see this, they're asking us to make the hard decision for them, to take the fire that they know will come.
I think they just want to know if it's okay to start talking about this. They don't wanna start
If they wanna-
holding meetings.
If they wanna lead, they should lead.
Mhm.
If they want permission to lead, don't bother me.
I think it's such a big issue that they were respectful enough to go to their principal and talk about it, so, they're happy to continue forward with it, but they want this board to know about it.
Actually, my take is it was a respectful
That's what I
approach.
say.
I would say
Very
more
That's what I
smart,
think.
before they got shot down for doing anything, I think they did, I commend them.
I think it was
If you think it was
interesting.
respectful, then support it.
Yeah,
I think one of the concerns there was in an effort to make sure that they're inclusive and they address all the needs, that's gonna require a really calculated, smart way to survey and narrow down what the thoughts are. And to do that without approval of the school, I think is probably stepping beyond what they felt like their
There's
authority
only
was.
one course of action for them to come up with, that's come up with something other than Mosinee Indians. That's it. There is no other thing to bring forward. If you bring that forward, goodbye, good night. Because, if you're gonna come back to having a headdress and having an image of an Indian, and we're gonna take on all the legal battles, you're fools. If you wanna come forward to us with something other than the Mosinee Indians, we'll run with it, kids. And then we'll
Would the
take that.
administration discuss, quite honestly, a member that would be interested in facilitating this initiative?
sure, absolutely.
I'll make a motion, we table this item.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to table the item. Further discussion from the board.
I guess that we always talk about tabling an item and something to come back, what we wanna see. I guess my question is, what is the students looking for as far as changing the mascot when we have nothing?
We don't have them.
So I guess what are they looking to, like Corey did say, if you really can't put anything as the mascot, so what are they looking for? So be a little bit more of a broader scope. I don't think that would be so hard to come back and say, this is what the students wanna see versus just changing the mascot that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't want any part of it if they're asking our permission, because then they can point back, well, they said we could. If you wanna make a change, and a change that's gonna, as Diane said, fire up the community of Mosinee, then lead.
But you have to be careful here too, because you're leaving this decision up to a student body that spends 4 years of their life in the high school.
So,
And it's gonna, that mascot will remain in perpetuity, or unless another student senate decides to change it. So I think they're reaching out here saying, we're happy to help make the decision, but maybe they don't wanna make it entirely for that reason. Because they recognize, I'm taking on a decision to make that really in 1, 2, 3, 4 years' time, they'll always be that mascot. But is it their decision to make in the back?
I think they're happy to do the work. They wanna do the surveys, they wanna conduct the, they wanna do the work. They're excited to do the work.
That level of leadership, quite honestly, is beyond a typical high school student.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
that's why I
Go and do
asked
it.
that question, is if you had somebody from the administration that could help guide that process, and you're bringing that to the table again on a different venue, a different line item,
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
that maybe there'd be more of a consensus here to make a vote.
I mean, who's gonna, Matt, to your point, if not, how's that saying go? If not me, if not I, who, not,
Not
now,
you,
when,
who?
or whatever, you know?
If not you, who?
Yeah. And you know the what I'm talking about.
I
I
think
mean, let them go and do it, but I mean, if they wanna make the change, great, go for it, kids.
I'm opposed to tabling it right now because I think they're looking for an answer. And if I think about the timeline to implement something like this and for them to do their work, which might take longer than people with life experience to accomplish that, I'm opposed to that because I would foresee a separate motion that directs Mr. Lehman, this is a high school initiated project, to supervise and lead and utilize his staff to assist these students in putting together a committee to bring a proposal to us. And then we might send it back to the drawing board multiple times with presentations if we don't like that, but I'd like to see them get that direction.
Further discussion? We do have a motion and a second to table. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call again.
Alice,
No.
Barnes,
No.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
No.
Kramer,
No.
Theo,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
No.
Zebro.
Yes.
Motion fails, 5-4.
I'd like to propose a motion, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'd like to propose a motion that directs Mr. Lehman to lead and delegate leaders to work with the Mosinee High School Student Senate on putting together a committee to bring us a proposal addressing the issue of what the Mosinee mascot should be.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Motion by Barnes, seconded by Kramer. Did you capture that entire motion?
I got some, I'll look at the video.
Okay. Further discussion?
Well, I respect that you're trying to craft a motion, but I'll stand opposed to the motion because I think kids just need to do this on their own initiative. So,
Thank you.
You know what, I'm gonna second that.
She did.
It is
Oh,
second.
it's second, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But I would say that's another favorable vote.
No.
Further discussion?
I think this is just giving the children or the young adults permission to do it. And I agree with that.
and therein lies the problem,
You know, but
because it's gonna, place that we go.
We don't have to agree to it, though.
we don't have to agree to
There'll be nobody in the community that will take up time
No.
in our open session or open forum. Nobody will tell us, you know, all kinds of things. No one will do that. So, I'm sure,
I think
I'm sure our word president will limit them to 2-3 minutes and only have things on the agenda.
If we have 30, we'll limit them to a minute. If we have 5, we'll give them each 5 minutes. So, we need to do something, we're doing something, I think that's what's important here. So we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion. I'm gonna do roll call vote this time. Save us some time.
Kaiser,
it. Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Theo,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
No.
Zebro,
No.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
No.
Gorman,
No.
Motion carries 5-4. Anything else on that item? I will move on to agenda item number 10, which is the Curriculum and Standards Committee meeting report. Christina,
Yeah.
floor is yours.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Nice to see you all. We had our first curriculum and standards meeting on September 11th. And our main initiatives for this meeting were to kind of reunite and rekindle some of the opportunities that this committee can bring to our strategic plan and the overall goal of enhanced and increased student achievement. So we took a look at, board policy, that kind of governs the makeup of the committee, the goal of the committee, and took a look at really what our main focus, as Anne expressed this evening. We have a strategic plan that is very in-depth, very intense in terms of all of the inputs that go into that. And she shared the school goals that we have derived from all of our data that we've taken in and trend data over time. And really the focus of the pieces, the facets of that strategic plan that can be the focus of our Curriculum and Standards Committee are really, that access to rigor, making sure that we are providing some exploring, questioning, assessing, and really collaborating in that committee to look at access to rigor, closing our achievement gaps, high quality staff development, and a commitment to continual improvement, and our alignment of our curriculum to the Wisconsin academic standards. So those are all kind of the core pieces of our strategic plan that our Curriculum and Standards, it's my belief that our Curriculum and Standards Committee can really enhance, emphasize, and collaborate on. So we took a look at that piece, kind of reformulating our mission and vision together a little bit, and not that there isn't more discussion that could occur from that. But then we moved into just some updates. Starting out the year, we took a look at our dual credit and AP offerings, which were presented last year in the spring. We do have 30 dual credit courses and 12 AP course offerings occurring at the high school, which are great opportunities for access to rigor for students. And we also took a look at a new position this year that was created. We have a STEM position.
Hold on, time out.
Yeah,
We just have to have a moment to laugh at Kelly's computer.
what's happening? It's talking?
You may not be able to hear it, but we can hear it.
You can hear it? I can hear it, it's okay. I'll just keep talking, it's okay, no problem. We have a new position at the middle school, which is part of our focus on access to rigor. It's a STEM position. Sean Bertalo was hired. He is providing some accessibility to all students, not only to our gifted and talented students with some coding classes, and really formulating a really nice addition to the kind of the response to intervention piece that Ann was talking about, that is a goal of the middle school, to give not only equal access to all to some of the enrichment pieces that STEM can bring with that math and science enrichment, but also offering some enriched experiences for those kids who are identified as gifted and talented. So that Brady has been an integral part of, and there is some co-teaching going on with some of our high school teachers, with some of the tech ed type classes, and there's also a piece that we talked about with 2 new Fab Lab courses that both Matt and Brady have been highly involved in, which we'll bring to a recommendation after I give kind of the update here, with 2 new Fab Lab classes and the opportunities that will afford our high school students. We continue to look at, as I said, one of our focus areas is that high quality staff development, increased continual professional growth. I'll continue through that committee and then recommendations to the board to share information on the professional learning that's going on with our staff. We have a very unique situation and opportunity for staff here in the Mosinee School District, where they do a lot of self-driven professional development related to our school goals and initiatives and strategic plan, as well as things that will, enhance their professional growth in their own content areas and grade levels in which they teach. They also have opportunities for graduate and undergraduate work, and there's a lot of great priority work going on in the district that is really self-driven, in alignment with our goals happening with our staff. So I'll keep that standards committee, curriculum and standards, updated with some of those opportunities and get some feedback on those as part of our updates each month. And also, our biggest initiative, I would say, following in line with some of our focuses of our strategic plan, is really ensuring that we have kind of what we would call a guaranteed and viable curriculum. A lot of that work was started in the past couple of years with looking at our alignment to the standards. So we are launching our strategic plan in terms of continuing that journey towards a guaranteed and viable curriculum. Teams over the past 2 years have identified what we would call power standards, those critical standards of the grade level or content area standards for that teacher or grade level, and said these are the most critical pieces of information that students really know to have leverage and endurance over time to be successful, college and career ready, but also successful in potentially the next course or grade level. That doesn't mean they don't teach to all the supporting standards that are part of that grade level, but those are those power standards. So teams have done a great job identifying those and working on what we call I can statements, which are really what students should know and be able to do as a result of teaching those power standards and emphasizing those power standards. They've also begun some great work over the last 2 years in identifying common assessments. And common assessments are those tools that we use as teachers to assess the growth of our students. So they're not always standardized tests or state tests, but they might be local or even teacher created, or assessments that come with their core curriculum or their universal curriculum to progress monitor students and let us know how they're achieving in terms of mastery of the standards. So there's a lot of work that's been done. Our big focus this year in terms of, you'll see in the building goals as reflected there, as well as kind of our focus work with coming to that guaranteed and viable curriculum, which high-performing schools, all research best practices says that that is one of the highest indicators of increased student achievement and what makes them high-achieving schools. That direct alignment with the standards, which in turn gives you equal access for all students to not only high-quality instruction, but also that they are all getting the same kinds of instruction to help them be successful in their future. And they're being exposed to the same concepts and skills that every student can be exposed to. So we are launching our next phase, and that is providing, as Ann mentioned, getting those units, modules, courses down on paper. Meaning we're talking about in the first 3 weeks of Algebra 1, these are the critical skills that are taught, the power standards. These are what we want students to know and be able to do. Here's some critical vocabulary that students need to know to be successful. And here is what it looks like in terms of some common assessments or resources that I as a teacher use in my high quality instruction. So mapping that out is a critical part of alignment to the standards, because once that's mapped out for every content area, every course, every grade level, so this is a long-term plan that takes time, takes a lot of time to do this. In districts, usually 3 to 5 years. We've already got some of the hard work completed, so we're kind of in year 2-3, phase 2-3 of this plan. Then you look at gaps and repetitions in the standards. So you can map out it. You can sit down as 512 teachers of science and say, here's the critical core standards I'm covering, here's the critical core standards I'm covering. Do we have gaps that we see where we're missing some pieces? Do we have repetitions where maybe we're over-covering a standard, where we could work in some in-depth knowledge with another power standard and where we have gaps and repetitions? So that's the next phase, which we'll be going through in depth with curriculum and standards and getting some collaboration and feedback in that piece. But that again is all part of high-performing districts looking at getting to that guaranteed and viable curriculum, which is only enhanced by each of the school levels building goals that they have in both their curriculum and instruction facets as well as their assessment pieces. Because along with a guaranteed and viable curriculum comes, how do you respond when students know the standards? What do we do when students already know them and need extension? It's a really big, systematic process. And right now, all of our building goals and our strategic plan are fully supporting the success of that over time. So that'll be a huge piece of what we look to curriculum and standards to provide some feedback, collaboration, support. We have team leaders on that team. We have community members. We have teachers as well as 2 board members. So, you know, we hope to shape that path as we go moving forward. Then lastly, we have the biggest new curriculum piece we have in the district outside of new course proposals and of course the addition of dual credit and AP courses is we've implemented a new math curriculum at K-5 this year. Grades 6 through 12, we're already using the Engaged New York math curriculum, which is also in turn Eureka Math. And we have a big implementation occurring this year, which is another strong initiative towards alignment to the standards, and that our K-5 teachers are going through the first month of their new implementation of the math series. So we do have some great professional development going on with our math coach in 3 out of every 4 weeks at the K-5 level. Our math coach is meeting with grade level teams to help support them with some professional development activities and guidance, because implementing a new curriculum is always intense and powerful, and it comes with some challenge to teachers, especially at the elementary when you have other subject areas that you're teaching. So Eureka Math is a very, very highly renowned research-based math curriculum. It was chosen last year and came to the board last year for approval last spring. And so things are are hopping along, you know, they're learning and growing as we go. But it is a big initiative at the K-5 level, is this new math initiative. So we'll be giving updates on how that's going, getting some feedback from teachers on ways we can support them in greater ways, and looking at implementation in any curriculum is usually a 2 to 3 year phase where you're working with the company to provide PD at the levels needed in each of their recommended years of implementation. So we'll continue to work with them as we go through that implementation. So that's kind of the update of our initial meeting and where we're going with vision and how we can best support our strategic plan and the facets of that that really can be emphasized and are relevant to the Curriculum and Standards Committee. And we did make a recommendation, and I don't know if Matt or Brady would have anything to add 2 new course offerings. And the names, the titles are in your agenda there. They're both integrated with the Fab Lab and the equipment. There are 6 pieces of equipment, right?
Correct.
6, and they are in the manufacturing realm. And the classes that were proposed are to integrate that the alignment of standards into the use of these great pieces of equipment. And I don't know if Brady or Matt, you have anything that you would want to add?
No, somebody had asked about the usage of this year, and just to refresh your memories on that. So these courses are being proposed so that we can get them in the December course books, so students can sign up in this year for classes for next year. In the immediacy of this year, Matt, Christie, our district tech coach, and I have and will continue to work to bring in the elementary school, the middle school, the classes that Julie had mentioned that Mr. Butala is teaching, to bring them in, have them use it, get exposure to the pieces that are in there. That's really the focus this school year of getting used to it, and it also kind of selfishly gives us the opportunity to work any kinks out, like a soft opening of making sure we've got everything ready to roll for these classes in the fall of 18-19.
So we are bringing forth the recommendation to allow us to approve the 2 classes, Introduction to Fab Lab and Make Something Big, for the 18-19 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to approve the 2 class offerings outlined in item 10B. Motion made by Thiel, seconded by Lewis. Further discussion from the board?
Yeah, the availability to community.
Yeah, we, with being a Fab Lab and using that title, there are certain things that MIT has put out there with being a Fab Lab, which involves having community nights. So once we get things up and rolling, we're going to start to have at least 1 night a month where it'll be open to the community, where we'll have projects for them to come in and make things individualized with the equipment as well as our students.
So we've set
using it for classes.
We've set our goal as November being our first one because it would tie in nicely with something for the holiday season. That would be the project then that you could bring in, and essentially on those community nights, they're open to students obviously, but really the goal is to try to bring community members in and showcase what it is that we have to offer there.
Yeah. And Brady and I just worked out actually a nice connection with St. Paul's. They have a STEM initiative going, and we have a collaboration with them through our Title I and Title IIA grant funding opportunities. And they are all in terms of collaborating with us on that community engagement piece, as well as the collaboration that is required of us with Title I and Title IIA funding to do some work with their staff and their students at St. Paul's. So we're excited about that too.
And that's one of the things that we say where our district is very unique. When we tour other Fab Lab facilities in the southern Wisconsin and northern Wisconsin, it's pretty much the high school and the high school only that uses it. And we're looking at incorporating all 3 buildings with the use of the facilities. So,
is there any interest or plan in, and I'll use as an example, like Mr. Mosinee in the Meadows, where he has a club that's actually a small business that accomplishes a lot of different learning objectives, and they do projects at a reasonable price that allows the kids to make some money or the program to make some money, because there's a lot of uses of this Fab Lab to benefit our community and
Correct.
other businesses and people.
That's
Absolutely.
the big idea behind Make Something Big, is that you have to have a community tie to your projects.
So when you talk about what Mosinee Manufacturing accomplishes right now, because the other piece is, these are some high-end, expensive pieces of equipment we're dealing with. There's upkeep, maintenance that's going to come up with this. So in our eyes, it really dovetails nicely. We've been contacted by a dozen people, teachers, community members of, hey, now you have the ability to do this. Once we're up and running, really, that's a hope of ours, is to be able to do that.
Great, thank you.
So we're still on item 10B. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any additional questions for Julie before we move on to the building committee meeting report?
Sounds like you got your feet on the ground.
I'm trying. It's been a great start. Wonderful staff to work with and some great creative ideas, so I'm really excited. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for the update. Moving on to item number 11, building committee meeting report. 11A is an update on the MCAA sports complex.
Kevin, I wanted to share, go back to our agenda item a little bit about, well, an update is, one of our priorities was to prepare the fields so that we could plant grass and develop that. Our team's currently working with members of the youth clubs in order to discuss what has to be done because it's not quite up to par. That field was leveled by the National Guard for us, but it still needs quite a bit of work done for seed and eventual play. So we are continuing to work with booster clubs and to see what their interest is in going to get some funding for that additional work that's going to have to be done. So in order to, on the notes, one of the things we changed was what is a 5-year plan? And I don't know really until January or February if the Guard is coming back, if they're not deployed. Hopefully we have them for 5 years. But I don't know what type of a crew they're bringing until they tell me. So it may be a vertical crew or it may be a horizontal crew. So I'm not sure if I have electricians and plumbers and people like that build structures going up, or if I have a crew that's just doing earth work. So that's what puts me in a dilemma for not being able to say, here's the plan. As soon as the sergeants come and meet with us and talk with us, we will know. From the onset, 5 years ago, they said, first of all, bulldozers, that kind of a crew, that horizontal crew. Year 1 for sure, year 2. But they really thought that as we got into this project 5 years later, that we would have more of a vertical crew, builders, masons, electricians, plumbers, things like that. And that changes for the National Guard. Remember that it is a training process for them to train their crews. So depending upon what crew they need to train is who comes to us. I will definitely report out as soon as I know from the sergeant what the scope of their work is going to be. And then we sit down and we say, when you're taking a look at this project, we knew that we had some funding from booster clubs to be able to, some money for this back in that area for the youth football. So we really went after that as a priority. However, we didn't get done completely everything that we need to seed that. So now we've got to go back to the booster clubs and say, what's your interest in helping out in this project? It literally is a step-by-step, inch by inch.
I get it.
Yeah.
But right now, the agenda item is update.
Okay.
With my proposal, it brings it to the floor for discussion.
What if they come with a vertical crew? I look at a vertical crew, there's not a lot of vertical work out here. If there's vertical work out here, it's going to take a lot of money. Because you're going to put up lights maybe on a field, maybe fence work, maybe bleacher work. If they were to tell you in January, we're coming out this summer with a vertical crew, what's our response?
I think our response is, well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So we've met with the city and I've met with the mayor to talk about getting power and getting water out there. to that area, so say we would trench it and you would bring piping in, if they did have plumbers. I think it really depends, and then we'd have to go after grants and, I'm not sure, Matt, because it's just, they're so iffy
Yeah.
about it.
No, I,
100% appreciate their work, but
right,
until they kind of drop that on us,
Yeah.
we do still have some big donors that are interested in continuing to contribute.
yeah, but if they came vertical, we have such a short window to
Right.
generate maybe the money necessary to support that crew for that period of time, and I don't know, yeah, good.
And,
So
you
we'll
know,
see what
to
they
date,
say.
you know, my view is short-term, quite honestly, a year and a half, 2 years. But the initiative has been, quite honestly, exceptional in the participation and the energy, quite honestly, in getting other resources to get the projects moving and going. I have to commend, you know, the people involved to make that happen. The reason I put that motion out there, I should say that agenda item out there, is okay, how is this gonna roll out? You know, is there gonna be expense items throughout? What is it gonna look like in 5 years? What is gonna be the operational expense to the bottom line? How are we gonna handle that 5 years from now? What does it look like? That's the real intent of that agenda item, I propose.
Any questions regarding item 11A, the update? Move on to the Personnel Committee meeting. Kevin Kelly and I met at 6:30 this evening. There were 2 actionable items on our agenda, both decisions on hiring special education teacher assistants, one at the middle school, one at the elementary school. The committee was in agreement these students moved into our district and are enrolled in our school. We made the motion, accepted the motion to hire these individuals. I'll make the motion that we hire these 2 individuals, item 12A and 12B, special education teaching assistants at both the middle school and elementary school.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We did not have any additional resignations, retirees, or hires. There was nothing to update on new extracurricular hires. There was some discussion on future agenda items that will lead to discussion within the committee. So we'll move on to item 13, the Finance Committee meeting report.
Okay, this evening at the Finance Committee, we approved the bill list summary of dated 9/19/2017 revised for $1,540,153.76 for a grand total. I would so move. Roll call vote.
Gorman,
Yes?
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Field,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Dallas,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
All yes.
Okay, tonight at the Finance Committee meeting for the month ending August 31st, 2017, dated September 11th, 17, the treasurer's report. I would so move.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote.
Field,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
All yes.
That concludes my report.
Thanks, Mike. We'll move on to item number 14, other reports. Item A, WASB report.
Oh, we have a little bit update here. We have a session, Diane and myself, I think are going, the only 2 going to in Chippewa on school board relations. And that is on Friday, the 29th of September. Then also I have October 19th and 20th in in Madison, I'm sorry. There's another workshop there. If anybody's interested, it's on the web. Also, Ann has included in the package, there's a conference in Stevens Point, November 4th. Oh, and I might just add to, in November 1st, I believe Amy is for the conference in Milwaukee. She'll need to kind of go over going and who's not.
On a Saturday and the fourth, really?
What's that?
November 4th, Saturday.
That's what it is. November 4th. Yeah, point. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Item 14B is the CISA 9 correspondence and report from monthly meeting.
I carry, the CISA 9, annual, convention. And I don't know, does anybody get a copy of this?
Yes, we all did.
You all
Yep.
did? Okay. So, I won't belabor it, I did claim to run for,
Yeah.
the position, in opposing to, Rylander.
Okay.
But I guess the individual is not going to fill out the full term, so there may be a upcoming position unless Rylander accepts it. That would conclude my report.
Thanks, Mike. Item number 15 is future agenda items.
I had people approach me about lighting for the pole vault. They said toward the end of the night, it gets pretty dark. They said it was brought up before, and I'm not sure if you remember anybody. They said they brought it up, and they said they told me to bring it up to see if there's something that can be put on the poles, because they said it's a safety thing. It gets dark and time goes on, it's getting dark. I'm not sure if two lights could be added to that pole right there or off that building.
I will check into that with Steve.
Okay.
Okay. So by the pole vault area?
Yeah.
Okay.
On a bigger meets, if it's runs late, I think on a bigger meet, there's not many, but on a bigger meet, so it's.
For that area, okay.
Anything else from the board?
I just wanted to, note, I did do a poll, I think we've got it all, but, one maybe, so we would change from Monday, October 23rd to our next meeting would be Tuesday, October 24th. We will begin at 5:15 with Bob Butler, he does those annual, so when state statutes change and legal updates change, our policies need to legally be updated based on those state statutes. So, I'm not sorry, not Bob, Steve Lavelle, I apologize. Steve will be here.
Woody, you did a job.
Yeah, I know.
So will we have updates beforehand, Ann, in regard to those
Which
policy
ones they will
changes?
be, yes.
Yeah. Okay. If we could get those, the sooner the better, because they do take some time to review.
Okay.
I'd also remind the board that we made those policy changes wholesale last year. We moved them through rather quickly. We shouldn't be afraid to revisit any policies where we're questioning what we adopted. So we agreed to that back when we adopted all those policies in a number of meetings. So just wanted to remind everyone of that.
You'll hear that in those updates, you know, those school updates I share with you, you'll hear, oh, legislation now changes this. That's the great thing about servicing with Neola, is that they will tell us, make sure that policy number 055 gets updated because the state statute language has changed. So that's part of their service contract with us each year.
And that meeting has changed to Tuesday, the location will stay the same at the elementary library?
Yes.
Okay. So next meeting is at the elementary library.
Why do we have it on a Monday?
I'm not sure, it's annually the budget meeting in
It's a week
October
later
is
too,
always
right?
on Monday, I don't know why.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, that leaves us with item 16. Motion by Gorman, seconded by Zebro to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Great